Welcome to Citizen Science, stories of science we can do together, brought to you by SciStarter. There are lots of ways to find food near you, or entertainment near you, even tattoo parlors near you. But how do you discover science near you? In this episode, we learn about a new hub for science opportunities called Science Near Me. Hey, Citizen Science fans. So let's say you're sitting around and being a true science nerd like me, you're wondering what science-y thing you can do in your area. Or maybe you have a science-loving friend in town visiting. Or maybe you have kids that you're trying to interest in something more enriching than Fortnite. Well, you now have a new tool at your disposal called Science Near Me. You just let it know where you are and what you're interested in, and it'll connect you to whatever's within a short walk or drive, or online via your mobile phone or computer. Darlene Cavalier, who's also founder of SciStarter, is co-principal investigator on this National Science Foundation funded project. Hey, Darlene, thanks for being with us.
Hey, Bob, thanks for having me.
All right, so Science Near Me. I could either be exciting or frightening, depending on how you feel about science, I guess. But what is it? Is it like an app? Is it like Google Maps for science or something?
It's basically another web hub, much like we have SciStarter that aggregates citizen science projects from all over the place and makes it easy for people to find them and join them. Think of Science Near Me as SciStarter kind of on steroids. It's not just citizen science, but it includes all of SciStarter's records and other forms of public engagement in science, which is kind of jargon, but other ways that people can help get involved in science or help shape the future of science. And sometimes it's just fun. Engagement might include attending a festival, a science festival. So something that you actually go and do, as opposed to the primary goal of it being for you just to learn. There's some kind of interaction involved. So Science Near Me basically aggregates from many different sources these opportunities to engage in all forms of science, and also, like SciStarter, provides a lot of rich data, anonymized data for researchers who study the field to try to understand who isn't having enough opportunities to get involved. The pathway of engagement, where people moving to and from. We already see some interesting data, a lot like we do with SciStarter, but again, SciStarter is very limited to citizen science. So this actually helps us at SciStarter also understand kind of follow-on activities that people might do after citizen science, because we know that's not all our citizen scientists.
Okay, and the information, the projects are coming from SciStarter, and who else is involved with that?
The Association of Science and Technology Centers, kind of representing and nurturing a whole suite of museums that are involved, and they offer programs. The Science Festival Alliance, which supports a number of science festivals around the country. The Nation of Makers and the MAKE movement. SciStarter with a citizen science component. National Girls Collaborative Project, which also does more of out-of-school time activities. Astronomy on Tap, bunch of different live events. And then just something interesting that started emerging is we started to see how states are starting to offer, they call them STEM ecosystems. States are starting to offer ways for people in their state to both find opportunities to do, but also the state, especially if it's state funding that's supporting some of these programs or a lot of these programs, they're starting to use Science Near Me as a way to start to look in their own state at kind of opportunity gaps, where are people looking for things and not finding them. That helps them understand where to better target their investments to support that type of work too.
So how does it work? So let's say I'm searching for Science Near Me in a general way. Is it like Google Maps, where I'll see a map and there'll be all little points there, or will it be like a list? And what sorts of things will I find on it?
Yeah, great question. A lot of this depends on your browser settings, but if you've allowed your browser to share your location, you will find things you can do near you right away. So those things are prioritized first. And remember, this is innovations in development, so it's not every single thing happening all around the country. It's not to replicate Google.
Yeah.
And so you might find local to you point-based events, so things that you go to, an event that has a start and an end time, It has a specific location that you're going to. You might find opportunities that are, we call them on demand. And so they are available to you to download and watch anytime. So these might be some of the types of webinars and Zoom events that are there that are really meant to also just inform you of things that are happening that lead to some form of engagement. You might find things that are global, and those are a lot of the citizen science projects. So we are reminding people who go to Science Near Me, you will always find something unless you intentionally filtered out everything except in-person events that take place near you.
Well, that's what I wonder, because I was going to ask that, because I think that the number of things that are available to me dwarf the things that are really near me.
Yes.
There's so many online things that if I just say what's near me, it's almost like, well, what is there in the world? But if I really want to do something with my kids or something like that, can I turn off all that stuff and just see things that are near me geographically?
Yes. Okay. Yes, and what we remind people is because of these partnerships with the Association of Science and Technology Centers and Science Festival Alliance, you'll actually see more and more things being populated because more and more museums are coming on board and their partners are coming on board. But as I mentioned, let's see, Alabama, Maine, Wisconsin, soon to be Southern California, and a big chunk of Florida, Miami and Dade and Broward. You will start to see how they are forming mini ecosystems, and all of their opportunities are being shared with Science Near Me.
Cool. Well, great. Anything else about, where you see this in 5 years and, when it's no longer in development, when it's developed?
What I would like to see is that these opportunities, much the way that these individual websites are starting to embed, versions of Science Near Me for their own communities, I would really like to see these opportunities just embedded as a way of life. If you're reading something on Discover Magazine about, who knows, I'm looking out the window here, dragonfly swarms, that, you start to see somewhere on that page, like, we probably know where you are. We know you're reading about dragonfly swarms. Why not show all the opportunities that exist near you to engage in opportunities to learn more about dragonfly swarms? Maybe you're observing them and sharing your observations. Maybe you're going to a science policy conversation near you that's talking about, climate change and its effect on everything, including dragonfly swarms. So for people to see these opportunities really embedded in what they're doing, not a science-oriented website, even though I mentioned Discover. Why not People Magazine? Why not Reader's Digest? Why not, other ways? And the more that we can do that, I think it's just very empowering. We know that the learning takes place even if somebody doesn't engage in the project, believe it or not. Just that sense of identity, of understanding, like, wait a minute, these are for me. They're asking for my help. At some point, if I want, it's nice to know that they need my help in that. It kind of changes that relationship ever so slightly with a person's, I guess, what they think about when they see the word. They don't even have to see the word science, but when they see these opportunities. So I know for me personally, it did shift that when I realized that, wait, the policymakers that we elect to vote on very important things might actually not know any more than I do about the particular topic, because maybe they went to school for law, not for science. I didn't go to school for science either. So that was somewhat empowering of and there's opportunities available for me to be part of discussions that shape that policy. Well, that makes sense. You're paying for a lot of that in your tax dollars to fund basic research. These policies usually affect you. That is actually a form of public engagement in science that you'll find on Science Near Me. Participatory technology assessments, participatory policy making.
Wow.
Anyway, that's, I think, pretty empowering. And I think the more that we expose people to these opportunities to engage, I think they will, but I also think and hope that it changes dynamics in the relationship about how people see themselves in the world of science and feel a little bit more emboldened to start to, as ASU, Arizona State University likes to say too, kind of shape the future they want.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much, Darlene.
Thank you, Bob.
Darlene alluded to some of the state-based Science Near Me partners, and we've got Lawrence Cooper, Program Manager for the Alabama STEM Council, here with us. Hey, Lawrence, thanks for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah, so before we get into Science Near Me, could you tell me about the Alabama STEM Council and what it is and what you do?
Yeah, so the Alabama STEM Council is still a pretty young agency. We're actually part of our state's Department of Commerce. So here in Alabama, a few years ago, our governor put together a roadmap for STEM success for the state of Alabama. So from that became the development of the Alabama STEM Council. And the council itself is about 40 individuals across the state who are involved in STEM learning, STEM education pipeline, STEM industry, and workforce development. So the STEM Council itself is really informing state government and statewide stakeholders about issues in STEM education and STEM workforce preparation across the state and implementing programs to help address those needs.
Okay, and one of those programs, I guess, is the Science Near Me, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And yeah, I talked with Darlene a little bit about it, but can you tell me how it sort of works on the state level?
Oh, absolutely. So on our side, of course, there's Science Near Me, which is the national program. And what happened with the STEM Council and with SciStarter, we set up an exchange. And our end, we call it STEM Near Me. So for our Alabama piece, it's called STEM Near Me, but it is linked to Science Near Me, the larger program. So what that allows us to do is to identify STEM learning opportunities across the state and have those posted through the directory on our website. So if someone here in Alabama, they can type in, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, and I like dinosaurs. And it'll pull up the closest programs to them that are around that STEM topic that they're most interested in. So it allows us to kind of focus on the state, and the directory pulls in priority to where the Alabama-based programs kind of come up first, and then other virtual programs, national programs kind of come in afterwards. So we were really looking for a way to put STEM opportunities across our state into one place. Is that things are happening in different regions and different counties and different cities, but this really helped us to develop a resource that the entire state can use when they're looking to either promote STEM learning programs or they're looking for ones to participate in themselves.
Oh, okay. And now how do you coordinate that? Is that the STEM Council that sort of decides what's on there and all that, or is there some other group that works on that?
Yeah, so it's the STEM Council with our, of course, our full council and that executive committee kind of guiding the way. And then we have our STEM operations team that kind of handles the day-to-day functions of that. And right now, we just want as many programs participating as possible. That, a directory is only as good as what's in it. So we're kind of in that phase of still building up users of the directory, still identifying where those opportunities are and building up that directory. So when the general public goes in and searches, they're finding the most up-to-date and most relevant information for their area.
And how is that progressing? Is that sort of populated out now, or is there
Yeah.
still, I guess it's still in development, right?
Yeah, definitely still in development as we identify who those different programs and providers are. But we actually set some goals around having STEM Near Me operational, and with really with SciStarter support, especially on that back end of that data, we're kind of exceeding even the goals that we set that we thought were lofty. We had a plan to have 50 different organizations using that by the end of fiscal year 23. So by September, we have
Mhm.
53. Wanted to have, we're like 6 times the traffic on the directory that we expected to have at this time. So it's
Wow.
going really well to be, like I said, still in development, still getting the word out about it. It is really picking up some traction.
Huh. So you said you're having 6 times the
In the
traffic
last
that
year
you
to this
thought.
year.
Wow. How did that happen?
I think it's a lot of word of mouth, and also what those opportunities are. Like one of our large statewide STEM fairs that's run through a university, they use STEM Near Me. So all those people who are Googling Alabama State Science Fair,
Right.
that directory is one of those things that comes up first. So I think it's really that word of mouth and just that intersection of how the program partners are presenting their programs, and then how the directory is a live website that people can visit anytime to get that information.
Right. So someone who goes on Science Near Me and finds a big event like the Alabama State Science Fair and then checks that out,
Exactly.
they can then see other related opportunities that they may otherwise never have heard about, right?
Exactly. It could be other opportunities that are in your area or based on the topic. Like I'm a marine biology fish person, so if I
Okay.
search fish, the aquarium at my local science center here in Birmingham pops up. uh, opportunities down on the Gulf Coast of Alabama will also come up. So it really does help people see what's going on across the state, even if they might not drive 3 or 4 hours, but they might have a cousin or a grandchild or a friend who's a teacher in that area who they can now connect those opportunities with.
Okay. So, what are your plans now to sort of, roll it out further, populate it, get more people using it?
Yeah, actually, and one thing we're doing is trying to remove any barriers, especially for those small
Mm.
organizations who might not have a communications person or a
Right.
separate marketing person. Um, we actually brought on a project specialist to kind of help with that, to where now we're having them fill out Google Forms and other things to where we can help them manage that posting, to where it takes maybe some of the burden off of those small organizations, to where we can help them kind of get online and get up and running as part of the directory. We're also planning a full press, multifaceted communications campaign for all of our STEM Council initiatives, and Science Near Me is really near the top of what's going to be part of that campaign for the upcoming year. Because it does serve our whole state, and it's a construct that's already in place. We're not having to create anything new to kind of campaign around. Is really and it also gives us great data. We can see where people are who are using it.
Hmm.
We can see where those holes are for usage of the directory, but also holes are for STEM opportunities. And kind of that'll be a hallmark of a larger campaign, not only to get Alabamians familiar with the brand of the STEM Council and our programs, but also what serves them directly. How are we helping them to kind of meet those individual needs?
Oh, that is great that you have somebody that's helping with the smaller groups that may not have a communications department or
Yeah,
even person, because often those are the ones that have the most impact on people. The ones that, oh,
absolutely.
this is a stream monitoring opportunity, so you can test, see if there's
Mhm.
pollution in a stream in your neighborhood or something. And those
Yeah.
are often, community led. There's just a couple of people doing it, and they may not even know that they can let people know about it through something like this.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we're trying to connect those organizations with their audience, with people who are interested in what they're doing. Also, connecting teachers and students with what might be a
Mhm.
field trip opportunity or a community science project that they can work on as a class or as a group, and how to help them connect some of those dots between what they're learning about and studying and what those real life experiences they could be having along with what they're studying in their curriculum.
Yeah, and then people will see what's happening in other communities around the state, right? And that might inspire them to create new opportunities like,
Exactly.
wow, look at that cool BioBlitz or stream monitoring program they're doing up in Tuscaloosa. We could do something like that here in Talladega.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. We are seen as a way to even kind of create community around the directory. So it's not just I'm dropping information in. And I've had a couple of what we call our science STEM near me community, to where we just invited people who had already used the directory, just say, hey, here are some updates, here's some new information. Help us recruit also organizations who might not be aware, so they're aware of the directory and what the opportunities might be for them.
Hmm, that is great. And Darlene really, she specifically mentioned your group in Alabama as sort of an early adopter of this.
Yeah.
Are you hearing from or working with folks in other states to get them up and running?
Actually, I think it is coming up next month. There are monthly community meetings around people who are using Science Near Me.
Hmm.
And the folks with SciStarter and the National Growth Collaborative is helping us to set up the meetings for the exchanges that have that kind of that statewide scope. That many of the exchanges are looking at serving a whole state. So really, we'll have kind of our separate little community group around using this platform to serve an entire state versus a smaller area, and really so that we can share communications, marketing ideas around that, and also identifying programs in our state and in other states that could benefit from using this type of directory.
Great. All right. Anything else that you want to share about the program?
Yeah, and also one thing we're also with STEM Near Me, we're also linking it in with some of our other initiatives. so that it is part of the kind of the fabric of what the STEM Council is doing. We have a program called Chief Science Officers, which is a high school leadership program based on STEM. So as those students develop a lot of them are doing community-based projects. That could be something that lives in our directory. So people can see what the teens in their area are doing around STEM-related issues and solving some of their local problems.
That is the best. I love the idea of getting high school students in on this because they're like the vanguard. They'll engage with younger kids. They'll get their parents and maybe their friends involved.
Yeah, we're just seeing those different opportunities as this grows and all of our initiatives grow. We're just seeing it as a great opportunity for everybody to be involved.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. It sounds it's very exciting.
Oh, you're welcome. I'd like to also just give greetings from our executive director, Lee Meadows.
Okay.
He was kind of the founding director of our STEM Council operating team. So this was one of the little seeds that he helped to grow and develop and to nurture. And I've had the opportunity in the past year to help, kind of push that forward on behalf of our entire council.
Super. All right. Well, thanks so much.
All right. You're very welcome.
Okay, I know you hear this from us a lot, but we need your help. Search online for Science Near Me, open it up, create your own account, and try it out. There are opportunities to share your feedback and suggest science places and projects that you think should be included. This project is still in development, and you can help make it great. Well, that's it for this episode. I'm Bob Hirshon. See you next time. This podcast is brought to you each month by SciStarter, where you will find thousands of citizen science projects, events, and tools. It's all at SciStarter.org. That's SciStarter.org. O-R-G. If you have any ideas you want to share with us or any things you want to hear on this podcast, just get in touch with us at info@SciStarter.org. Once again, our email address is info@SciStarter.org. Thanks.